Hey everyone, welcome back to a Wildcat in the Wild. I'm Dr. Craig Stage, Superintendent of the Athens Area School District, and today I have an alumni, Seanna Geiger-Johnson. Seanna, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Seanna, what year did you graduate from the Athens Area High School?
I was a COVID kid, so 2020.
2020. Wow, that takes us way back.
I know. It doesn't
Oh,
feel possible that it's 6 years this year.
there were some fun times there.
Yeah.
I will happily not remember those. So when you graduated in 2020, where did you go to school?
When I first left Athens, I went to Lackawanna College, the community college. It was fantastic, but I was starting out going for nursing. I wanted to be a midwife. And then halfway through that experience, I decided that that wasn't for me. I didn't get to finish FFA. I'm going to be an ag teacher, so I don't ever have to miss it.
So after Lackawanna, where'd you end up going?
I went to Penn State University.
Main campus, huh?
Main campus.
Because that's the only campus that has ag, am I right?
Yes, you are. Well, there's Del Val, but I didn't want to go there.
Right.
Yeah, I was a Penn State girl all the way. I said if I apply and I get in, that's where I'm going. Otherwise, I'll finish out this midwife thing. Applied, and 3 days later, I got an acceptance letter. So.
How was that experience? You had two experiences. So you were partially in the nursing world, doing midwifery.
Yes.
I didn't know if that's the right way to say it. And then you just said, you know what, I'm gonna go ag ed.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you?
It was a little rough in the beginning. Like I really enjoyed working in the healthcare field in general.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized very quickly that it wasn't for me. I wasn't so much into the hours that it brought. I wasn't thrilled with the studies, and growing up in the ag world, I knew that I should end up back there eventually. So I looked into ag education. The adjustment to Penn State was a little interesting. I went from a small school of like 8 kids in a class and to Penn State where there's literally hundreds and thousands of kids. Walked into biology of 800 students, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrifying."
Yeah, you're going from a small fish into definitely a big pond.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was great though.
When you think back at your time at Athens, which was 6 years ago, I know that seems like a long time for all of us. What experiences or people helped shape who you are today and where you are now?
Yeah. So Mr. Steinfeld, Dave Steinfeld was definitely my biggest supporter, and I really would not be here. I credit him for all of what I am doing. As a freshman student, I sat in the front because I knew that if I sat in the back, he'd pick on me. So if I sat in the front, I'd be safe. But that didn't save me. He made me do public speaking. And then one day, I'll never forget it, I said the FFA creed, and the whole class went silent. And Steinfeld said, "You are going to public speaking." And I met Sarah Beth a little while later. I took some animal science class. She was definitely a big part of it. One of my loud cheerleaders in the background. She was really awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. And everybody talks so fondly of Mr. Steinfeld and Mrs. Aldifer because of they pick you out and they make you special.
Yeah.
They do that to all the kids. What's a lesson that you learned during that time, maybe with them, maybe with someone else, that you still carry with you today, that still matters to you?
A big thing that actually another student said to me while I was in FFA was, "You may not talk a lot, but your smile says a lot." And she approached me because she saw that my smile was nice, and she said that's something that opens up and brings people towards you. So because of that, I made a lot of friends, and I often remind my students here that their smile means more to people than they realize.
Absolutely. And so your journey to agricultural education wasn't a direct one. You didn't say right at high school, I'm going to be an ag ed teacher. So what I wonder is how did you get to that path? Like what finally said, I want to be a teacher of agricultural education?
It really goes back to that FFA piece. I remember sitting in my room one night crying over an assignment that I absolutely had been dreading and I was not enjoying. I wasn't happy with my studies, and I was trying to reflect on a time that I was happy, and it all pointed back to FFA. All the times that I was out of my comfort zone, meeting new people with the peers that I was around, and I really wanted to go back to that. And I knew I couldn't get those competitions back my senior year with being shut down. So what better way than to allow other students to receive that opportunity? So I came back into it, and I'm glad I came back the way I did.
There's a lot to agricultural education. It's not just, as Mr. Steinfeld taught me, cows, sows, and plows.
Correct.
He says that a lot. It's ingrained in a lot of us. But the work in agricultural education is so much broader. What does a day look like for you as an agricultural education teacher?
I teach 5 different classes right now, 4 different subjects. So my days are very busy. I go from teaching intro to ag first thing in the morning, which right now we're doing woodworking. So I'm just teaching them the basic skills of power tools. How can we build birdhouses? A lot of these kids haven't used a power tool a day in their life. So it's really cool seeing that spark up interest. And then I jump right into animal science. So we're getting into genetics, diving into the microscopes, looking at cells. And then from there, I go to horticulture, and now we're talking about pesticide management and all of these things. So there's a lot of different things that I'm covering in a day, but it keeps me busy.
Mhm.
And I think that's one thing with nursing I wasn't get was that diversity in all of the things I needed to do. And then at the end of the day, I end out with my favorite class, which is wildlife and conservation. We're talking about birds right now, bird identification. I'm always busy. FFA keeps me busy in my free time on my prep, constantly taking kids on trips. It's
Well,
great.
as everyone knows, FFA and agricultural education are almost synonymous,
Yeah.
but they're different, right? One's a club, one's an actual class,
Yeah.
but they are so intertwined, it's hard to tell them apart. As an agricultural education teacher now, what's one misconception you would love to correct that people have wrong?
Yeah. FFA and ag class is considered an intracurricular thing. So it's not extracurricular like sports or any other clubs that the kids may do. This actually connects back to our content that we're teaching. We're reinforcing that material by going out and putting them to work in the competitions, or maybe we're putting them to work in the community. We have a lot of community connections, which is great. And I think it's very misconceptualized that it's an extracurricular. You're just doing that for fun to get out of school. And sometimes it can come off that way. Like the kids are excited about it and that's what they talk about. But it really is intracurricular. It comes back to the classroom. It has to start there.
Yeah, one thing I've learned is everything ties together. But agriculture is a broad career.
Yeah.
And if you were going to give a student in Athens some advice, maybe it's not ag ed, but is there other career pathways within agriculture that they could explore right away?
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to get involved in agriculture, and especially in the Athens community, there's so many people around who are working in agriculture. So there's technology, soil health is something that's popping up right now is really important. Just getting time to go into the community and really seeing what parts of agriculture you're interested in. Because I tell my kids all the time, just because you're in this class isn't going to make you a farmer. There are things out there like technology that we need people for. Drones, we're talking precision agriculture and all of the things that come with that. So if you have the chance, go out and see those people in the community and get to see what they actually do.
There are so many different opportunities, and it's amazing how much technology is intertwined with agriculture right now. And you know what? The drone thing is a very, very popular science, but it's also so tied to agriculture too. So there's so many benefits to that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
One of your roles is a mentor, right?
Yes.
You never thought that like you'd be
Yeah.
looked up upon in such capacity. Can you share a moment when you saw a student realize like they got it and that you felt that mentoring moment?
Yeah, this year, with being my first year teaching ag, I've had a lot of really awesome opportunities. And you're told you're going to be a mentor, you're told you're going to make these connections with kids, but you never realize how powerful it actually is for you too. I have a senior this year, and she is working so hard to get her state degree, and we've put in the extra hours to fill out her record books. After school, there's been days where she's been so angry at me because I'm just tired of AET, Mrs. Johnson. But at the end of it, when we finally submitted it, and she looked at me with like tears in her eyes and she was just so happy. And she was like, I am so grateful this happened. And then I was reached out by her parent actually yesterday. And her parent was like, I'm so grateful for what you're doing for both of my girls in ag. So realizing that that's not only affecting my senior, but it's also the parents are seeing it too, really makes me realize, okay, I'm doing something good here. I'm being a mentor, someone she can come to. And I try to do that for all my students here.
Yeah, you don't understand how big of a deal it is to get that stuff done,
Yeah.
and the sense of accomplishment that the student feels, and that aha moment, like I can do it, because it does probably feel impossible in the moment because it's a lot.
Yeah.
Um, what's a piece of advice? So you're a Wildcat. And we always ask, what's a piece of advice you would give other Wildcats on their journey through high school and then as they explore careers? What would be a piece of advice you would give them thinking about your pathway to here?
Um, Honestly, it goes back to just exploring careers. I think I went into college with this mentality of the industry, like nursing industry is really cool. There's a lot of cool things I can do with that. I didn't really look into it. I didn't go shadow somebody. I didn't take that extra time. Granted, at the time I was working on my mom's dairy farm, so it was different for me. But finding that time to just do that, you might realize really quickly that that's not actually what you want to do. Um, I had a student with me today at Ag Literacy Day, and she came out of the classroom and she said, I've always wanted to be a psychiatrist, but I never knew I wanted to focus on younger students until this experience. So if that's doing that for them in ag, for any Wildcat really, just taking the time, it doesn't have to be a 2-day adventure. It can be an hour of going to shadow and even just talking about the experiences.
That's right. And I asked you that question. It's kind of loaded because I think you have a sister who's still in high school.
Yes.
Right? You give her lots of advice.
Um,
Does she take your advice?
I give her a lot of advice. Whether or not she takes it, I'm not really sure. But yeah, Brooke is a senior. She has done a lot of looking and shadowing. So I guess in a way, she has taken some of my advice, but I think she's taken it more from Mrs. Aldifer for doing her SAE projects than
Right.
me. But that led her to where she's going now. So
Yeah, a
yeah,
very strong FFA influence in the Geiger family, right?
that's for sure.
That's for sure. So if you are looking back and you had a time machine and you wanted to give Seanna some advice when she was in high school,
Mhm.
what would you give her?
Don't let your shyness and your anxiety over going on big things get in the way of you. There were too many times that I told Mr. Steinfeld, no, I don't want to do prepared speaking because I was just too scared. I shouldn't have been. Gosh, I talk all the time. And after the Creed speaking event, like I knew I could do it. So why didn't I do it? I just wish I took advantage of every moment that I had there because I didn't. And that is a big regret.
Well, that's a great piece of advice. And while you can't go back and change it, you certainly can move forward
Yeah.
with that, right? Um, no, I have to say, Shauna, it's been a pleasure. I've been able to watch Shauna grow through high school, participating in the FFA, leading through the FFA, and it's been quite an experience. And now it's great to see her doing that. We're here at Spencer Bennett in high school, where she is the ag ed teacher and FFA advisor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And I want to ask you one final question. What was your most memorable moment being a Wildcat?
Ooh, being a Wildcat. I was involved in Big Brother, Big Sister program, so Big Buddy back then. That was a way that I could get involved with the younger members. And at the time, I didn't realize that I was doing it for the kid as much as I was doing it for myself. And I went back last year, as you know, to be in for Mrs. Aldifer as her long-term sub. And that student who I had mentored all the way through her elementary school ended up being in my animal science class. So that was really full circle. And as a Wildcat, I was proud to see her when I left my senior year, knowing she was going to do awesome things. But then it really came back around and found me again. So
Well, and it's a beautiful moment and memory to have because too often people forget that people need mentors. Even younger students need older students to mentor them. And it was awesome that you were a big sister to a little sister.
yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much, Shauna. And thank you, everyone, for taking time to meet Seanna Geiger-Johnson. And thank you to Leprinos, who have given me a grant to go do this, to explore careers. Agricultural careers are varied and vast, and Ag Ed is just one of those. And thank you for sharing that with us today.
Of course, thank you for your time.
As always, folks, go Wildcats.